Hey everyone, hope you guys are all having a wonderful day. I wanted to give you guys a little bit of an update and a reminder of what exactly is pushing Bitcoin higher because we've been talking about so many things, so many different types of catalysts here, but what is actually making or allowing Bitcoin to continue to go higher and higher and higher? We just broke back above $100,000 today after a lot of people were very, very pessimistic and stopped dollar cost averaging and stopped buying, and we're starting to say, oh my God, the rally may be actually over. So, just as a quick reminder, the main thing keeping Bitcoin going up at this point is the Federal Reserve cutting interest rates. And that's why the CPI report was so important. If it was above expectations, let's say instead of 2.7, which met expectations, let's say it went to 2.8%. Well, there would have been a concern that this might give the Federal Reserve the go ahead, you could say, to actually pause rates not this month, but during the next meeting over in February. And that's where people were getting very, very anxious. You guys might not know this. We talk about this maybe every now and again, but over the last few weeks, the Federal Reserve was talking, or heads of the Federal Reserve, so like the head of the St. Louis Fed, Florida Fed, that type of stuff, they were talking about possibly cutting interest rates one more time, then having a pause. And that pause was spooking a lot of people because if you look at what's been happening with inflation, if you look at what's been happening around the world, this is not really a time to pause cutting interest rates. Sure, we don't have to go down by 50 basis points or 75 basis points per a meeting, but 25 is an acceptable rate because we still are above the inflation rate, which is a core basic thing. Now, because of all that, Bitcoin's been able to thrive. People forget that once we started seeing the rates pause, right, and then start going back down, that's when the economy really started to take off. And by economy, I really just mean the stock market and the cryptocurrency market. They have been going insane ever since. If you guys recall, 2022 was the year of just raising interest rates over and over and over and over again to fight inflation, which I completely understand. However, after that, we started to see a pause, and with that pause came Bitcoin flattening out a little bit, even coming back up and like breathing. But what really got it to take off is once we started to cut interest rates. And that's all we want to see continue for Bitcoin's sake. There was a lot of good news that determines how fast Bitcoin rallies, like institutions or new Trump policy, but that doesn't kick in until at least mid 2025, right? There's a whole bunch of good things coming our way, but it doesn't mean anything. If we can't have rates continue to be cut here. Even if that means that we have to go all the way back down to 3% or 4%, that's going to be perfectly fine. By the time we pause, though, let's say we pause at 4% or 3.5% or 3%, whatever that number is, I do expect Bitcoin to be going into a bear market around that time, mostly because people will be given these bi-monthly updates saying, hey, we still feel like the economy is working in our favor. We feel like it's okay to cut by 25 basis points. But then they'll be like saying at the end of it, we do see the need for a possible pause down the road. And then whenever they say that during the meeting, Jerome Powell or whoever replaces him, hopefully somebody does replace him, I think what you're going to see there is the market start to throw a tissy fit. I think that's okay. Normally, I'd be like, Bitcoin can weather the storm a little bit more. It might be really, really volatile, but it can weather the storm temporarily. But we have institutional investors now. And if you guys didn't hear the newest news, we now know that the top 10 Bitcoin holders, as far as hedge funds that do the Bitcoin spot ETFs, the top 10 together own more Bitcoin than Satoshi Nakamoto, which is a lot. So it's going to be very interesting to see how all of this kicks off. But until then, because we still are seeing cuts, I do think it's appropriate to continue to dollar cost average. We've been seeing tokens making some incredible moves. Altcoins are still not as high as they were just a couple weeks ago. I want to stress that, which is why I'm choosing to continue dollar cost averaging. These are not massive buy-ins by any stretch because they are dollar cost averages. These are small amounts of money. However, I do believe that during an altcoin season, that's where you see small amounts of money turn into very large profits. That's the whole point. You can do 2x leverage or 3x leverage if you want to. Most of you guys, I think, just should stick with 1x leverage or 2x leverage or just spot if that's what you prefer, especially because spot allows you to buy a lot more tokens, especially if you guys have crypto.com, Coinbase, those types of apps right now. So I think we just got away from that. Maybe because we've been talking so much about the rally and what's been happening with all the news after the election. We have to understand interest rates are really guiding us at this point. And that's why you saw the NASDAQ breaking all-time highs today, Bitcoin going back up to $100,000. Everything looks good, but only because we had an inflation report this morning that gave us confidence that there was going to be another 25 basis point cut this month and possibly another one coming soon. If the Fed chooses to next Wednesday, they can lay out something of a warning or a heads up. We may decide to pause. That may is enough to really push Bitcoin down, push the stock market down. So these next 2 weeks, I really want to stress, I didn't think I was going to be stressed out about this. I really want to stress that next Wednesday is going to be another crucial day, and we could see a move like we saw today, bearish or bullish, based off of what Jerome Powell says during his press conference. We are going to see some dot plots and stuff like that, which basically just means, hey, all the Fed governors come together and they say, hey, how many, where do you see the interest rate in the next few months, right? So we have like a bit of a forecast, if you will. If that forecast looks kind of bumpy for us as far as pauses, that's where we run into trouble. So I love what's happening today. I really do love it. I made some money today off the dollar cost averages we did yesterday. But a big portion of this for the next week, 2 weeks, 3 weeks, 4 weeks, even a couple months after this, is what happens with Jerome Powell, because now we have to start paying attention to him a little bit more. And we've been basically focusing on Donald Trump and all the hedge funds and ETFs because that's where all the action has been. But now that the Federal Reserve is kind of forcing itself back into the conversation here, man, we really have to think about what Jerome Powell wants to do. Is it possible for Trump to fire Jerome Powell? What happens next? And man, we are in for a bumpy ride if he decides that cutting is not in the best interests of the economy. We are going to see a lot of people freaking out with their Bitcoin because, again, a lot of people just bought Bitcoin for the first time in a long time or the first time ever over the last few weeks. Not when we were talking about it for the last like 6-7 months when everything was very, very boring. Now, now they just bought. So they're already looking at a loss right now, and possibly some of them are bullish or maybe have a profit, but only with Bitcoin perhaps, because altcoins are nowhere near as high as they were just a few days ago. So those are my thoughts. Let me know what you guys think, and we will keep a very close eye on what's happening with the Fed, because now we're going to have to talk about them at least once every stream for about 2 to 5 minutes, just as a little daily reminder. Hey, the Fed controls everything. Jerome Powell may want to play around and find out as far as, what happens with the economy, like he did with transitory, right? Played around till it was transitory, found out it wasn't. I think now he's going to probably try to play around and say, oh, we can pause interest rates. He's going to fuck around. He's going to find out, oh, no, this is actually a very bad thing for the economy. So we'll see. Hope you guys all have a good rest of your day, and thanks for watching. Thank you very much.